Thanks to everyone who have subscribed. If you have not, please do. And thanks for coming out here. I really appreciate you. Breaking news. Presidency considers upward review of 500 billion naira intervention fund. Osibanjo committee meets with AEC tomorrow by Onyebushi. The federal government is considering reviewing upward the proposed 500 billion economic stimulus package meant to cushion the degrading impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Besides, the Vice President Yemi Osibanjo-led Economic Stimulation Committee is also putting forward another proposal for a gradual relaxation of the current lockdown in the Federal Capital Territory, Lagos and Ogun, in order to ease economic activity granted by the effort to combat the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. President Muhammadu Buhari has locked down FCT, Lagos and Ogun State since March 30, 2020, a decision that is due to be reviewed today. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab, had a meeting with the President of the Senate, Dr. Ahmed Lawal, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi, had proposed an establishment of a 500 billion COVID-19 crisis intervention fund. The fund, she said, would be sourced through mopping up resources from various special accounts of the federal government. The minister had also stated, in addition to the identified special accounts from where the money would be drawn as loan, the fund will also be sourced from grants being expected and loans from multinational institutions. This day investigation, however, revealed that Osibanjo committee, which came up with the proposals to relax the lockdown and increase the 500 billion fund, is scheduled to hold a teleconference meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari Economic Advisory Council to hammer on the position on various aspects of their recommendations before submitting a report to the president. A source confirmed to this day that the committee has received reports from various subcommittees on finance and stimulus package headed by the Minister of Finance, Ahmed, and one on job creation headed by the Minister of Labor and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, subcommittee on easing the COVID-19 lockdown headed by the Minister of Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola. On lockdown, the sources said Fashola's subcommittee had proposed the easing of the present lockdown on some states and the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. The committee has recommended that the government should implement a ground unlocking of movements and activities in the affected areas and to only continue the measures where necessary, the sources said. He said Osibanjo would preside over another meeting of the committee tomorrow, where the reports will be deliberated and unanimously agreed with the Economic Advisory Team before the final recommendations will be forwarded to Mr. President. The recommendation is to dwell on the measures to be taken on COVID-19 and post-COVID-19 era. The committee will conclude this with the Presidential Economic Advisory Council via a teleconference on Tuesday before sending its humorous report to Mr. President, the sources added. On what may form part of the key recommendation by the economic team, the sources said what they are looking at is that the 500 billion as announced will be expanded in the interim. The committee will be working with the 500 billion, but it has resolved that an increase will be recommended, which will be significantly above the 500 billion. The source explained that although no ceiling has been put on the expanded stimulus package, the committee is punching for a significant increase in the amount. The committee is also working absolutely on STEM's job losses through so many innovations. The target is for first, protect the existing job and then find ways to create more jobs to take care of the depleting effects of the post coronavirus era, he stated. The Osibanjo Committee comprises of the Minister of Finance, Budget and Planning, Industry, Trade and Investment, Labor and Employment, Minister of State Petroleum Resources, CBN Governor, NNPC Group Managing Director, and Permanent Secretary, Cabinet Secretaries, who serves as Secretary of the committee. Guys, you've heard it all. The committees that have been set up are pushing that the 500 billion fund should be increased, and they are also recommending to the president that the lockdown should be eased off so that people can go about their normal life. For instance, just with the lockdown alone, you know how much Lagos State alone is losing in revenue. One 108 million, 108 billion per day. Okay, calculate that by the 2 weeks, by the 4 weeks. Then look at what has been lost. That is Lagos State alone. We're not talking about other states. We're not talking about the industries. We're not talking about other stems of income to the economy. To also include, also look at the state of crude oil. So that was on the back of crude oil. Most budgets were put together and approved by the Senate, but apparently, man proposes, but God disposes. Nigerian government has been telling us before now. I don't know where the fraud is actually coming from. I don't know. These people are so fraudulent, you see. They've been telling us that they've been investing in other forms of infrastructure to make sure that crude oil is not our only source of income in Nigeria. But apparently, it is. It is the only one, and nobody seems to be telling us the truth because with the advent of crude oil, look at what is happening. I'll give you a little bit background. Before 1960, before crude oil was discovered in Nigeria and all that. Nigeria was the largest exporting in cocoa, palm kernel, and other farm produce from our farms. Yes, Nigeria was the highest, and even with that, Nigerian economy was doing so excellently well. I mean, excellently well. Now, with the advent of crude oil, my God, it became, the money, the influx of money into Nigeria, if it has been spent the way it should be, Americans should be coming to Nigeria for holiday. They should be coming, not just all the nations of the world. Nigeria should have been a place you must travel to. Our passports should have been one of the strongest in the nation. But guess what? What has brought us here is corruption. On the back of corruption, Nigerian government don't want to do anything. They just want to be spending the money of crude oil. It's not just Buhari. Name all the presidents we have gotten, all the forms of leadership. It's always one way or the other wanting to exploit the nation. Imagine somebody came into power and what the person did was to divide oil blocks when they were living among their friends. Yes, in Nigeria. A national wealth was divided among their friends. And you see them today flaunting and all that. You know what Patience Goodluck Jonathan will say? There is God. It may take time, but the end will justify the means and everything will be out in the open. My people, today we are bringing to you what's been happening in Nigeria, what's been happening in the nations of the world. And this is the committee headed by the Vice President, the person of Yemi Osibanjo. I would like to hear your take on this matter. You've heard the news. Don't forget to like us, share, subscribe. Click on the notification button so you can get all our latest news. We're here to keep you up to date with all that is going on in Nigeria and around the world. You have a voice. please use it. Don't allow anyone intimidate you or make you feel you don't have a voice. Thanks very much for listening. Do have a lovely and a wonderful day. God bless. Bye for now.